What if the only way to see the light was to be in the darkness? I just returned from a trip out to Lake Michigan on a sailboat with some wonderful human beings. And some of the topics, some of the discussion that we were having was about all the negative things that seem to be happening in the world, the weather, governments, the you know population, COVID, all these different things that have happened, um, and why they're happening, what they're happening for. I think there's always two different ways to view things, and this is what I wanted to kind of make this topic about, was understanding why there is darkness in this 3D world, in on the planet, on Earth. Why is there darkness, and what does that show us? Why is it um, created that way? And I always say created because, from my perspective, there are forces, unseen forces in the world, in the universe, that have been created because they allow for this eternality of existence. There's the light and the dark, the positive and the negative. These are all things that exist, the creation and destruction forces. Every most major philosophies, most major religions, they all talk about these forces, the positive and negative forces, the good and the bad, the creation and destruction in the Vedas. These are all topics that I think, or ways of sharing and discussing how fundamentally the universe works. It's creating a story around how the universe works. And I think this is super powerful to really start to understand that without the darkness, there is no acknowledgement of light. If you lived entirely in the light, you would have no idea how good you had it because you had nothing to compare it to. So we come into this existence, and from my perspective, we come into this existence by setting ourselves up to experience darkness on purpose, for the purpose of us to know how good we have it when we come back into that wholeness, that connection to our divinity or our higher self or our soul. This is that journey of life. And if you experience this silver spoon life where everything is kind of taken care of for you, you have no idea how good you have it. You have no idea. You don't have appreciation. You don't have gratitude for how good you have it. And when you come in contact with somebody like this, not, again, there's no bad way to experience life, but when you come into contact with somebody like this, think about what the conversation is like. Think about who they are as a person. Is it exciting? Do they entertain you? Do they ignite something inside of you? Or is it just blah, boring? Oh, the weather's good. The sports teams did well. How's your portfolio looking? Boring. Again, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, if you've come here, if you're watching this, chances are you've come here to have a phenomenal, wild experience as a human being, to go from the complete depths of darkness and despair into the highest levels of wholeness and love in this one single experience. And it's being exasperated by this fundamental shift in consciousness that is happening, that is happening on the planet. And that is why you've chose to incarnate this time during this experience, because you know, as a soul, you can handle this massive shift in consciousness on the planet. So, to understand why it feels as if there's so much darkness, so much pain, so much suffering in the world, we have to understand how reality self-corrects, auto-corrects, in the mechanism that it uses to have this life, existence, reality continue on forever and ever and ever through eternality. I think back to the movie The Matrix. I think it was the third one, when the creator when the programmer was discussing these different versions of the Matrix. It kind of started out in the first movie where they're trying to break Morpheus, and they're explaining to him essentially the first Matrix was this perfected utopia. And everybody in the Matrix rejected it because there was no purpose, there was no meaning to life, there was no darkness in the world. And in that experience, the human being, the species that is always trying to expand its awareness and consciousness, completely rejected the Matrix. So then moving on to the third movie, he's talking about how they built structures into the Matrix that require choice. You have a choice to accept or reject the Matrix. You have a choice to believe in the programming that they are feeding you or not. And then they built all these intricate systems, these mechanisms that allow for the illusion of choice, or in theory, a choice. But it really only comes down to this one key figure, the one, the savior, the prodigal son, essentially, the one who has to make at the end of the experience, has to make a choice between do we reset humanity and continue this Matrix like world, or do we choose to, from the robot's perspective, end all of humanity and eliminate all of the human race. And that is the ultimate darkness. This is where I would say this is how this reality has been kind of created as well. That there's these fail safes, there's these systems, there's these ways that allow almost like a recycling of consciousness over and over and over again, and into this eternal experience. So what is one of those structures? One of those structures is the idea of negative and positive, destruction and creation, death and rebirth, that these forces are always around us. And right now we're in this experience where an entire species is going through this great death and rebirth. There's an idea of turnings where essentially this same process plays out every 80 years or so in humanity. Every generation has an opportunity to essentially start over, build a new society or global society. That global society becomes too big, too large, too obtrusive, too unwieldy to handle, and then it gets destructed, it crumbles, it falls away, and comes back into this reset, this new level, this new iteration of reality or consciousness or society, basically. And that, again, the destructive forces from those, it's all perspective. The destructive forces from the ones who have created this, next iteration of humanity, this next iteration of experience on the planet, they view the ones that are destroying or creating destruction to that system as bad, as negative, as evil, as darkness. But from the other perspective, those who are doing the destruction, those who are creating the change, the necessary change, who are connected to the future version of humanity in a very real way, they are channeling information from a future that they can't see with their five senses, but they can feel with their sixth sense. They are moving towards that. They are viewing themselves as the positive, and the ones who created the old system are the negative. So, as you can see, these forces kind of feed on each other. This is the yin and the yang, the dark feeding on the light feeding on the dark. And if you've ever studied the construction of the yin and yang, it's really a two-dimensional expression of a three-dimensional spiral all the way up. So essentially what this is showing is that we have these cycles that repeat, that move over and over and over again and repeat through eternity. And it's all based on scale. So right now, most people have this scale of either their local, national, or global community, and this is the scale that we're kind of working on, that we're moving through. At the local level, there are people that are here to change how the system is built at the local level. At the national level, there are people that are changing how the system operates at that national level. And at the global level, there are people that have built one system, and there are people that are trying to dismantle and create and build a new system that is potentially more equitable, using whether that's technology or consciousness or whatever it is. They're rebuilding this system that has been built over the last many, many, many years, 60, 70, 80 years. So why am I bringing this up? There is always going to be, from anybody's perspective, a light and a dark, and you get to choose how you view whatever is happening in the world. Your level of awareness allows you to choose. So if you are unconscious and you're unaware and you just are reacting, you're typically reacting from a level of awareness that you received when you were a child or growing up or in your 20s or 30s, that you've just kind of latched onto and held on to. So this would be like, whether you watch MSNBC or Fox News, you're just kind of doing that unconsciously. You're not really fully aware of why you're watching it. You just know that for whatever reason, this brings about a positive feeling inside of me, and I'm going to continue to do that. But if you take a pause, if you stop, if you say, hey, I'm going to actually go take a look at the other side, I'm going to see what's on the other side, and you truly learn and understand what that other side is saying and how they got to that point. You spend some time being empathic with the journey that they've probably taken to get to that level. Well, then you've got something. You're coming into neutrality, and I think this is a key aspect of being alive at this point, is to not dive into one way or another way, but to be neutral and to remain neutral, to be that middle line. Again, in the yin and in the yang, there's a winding middle line that is basically balancing the light and the dark. That's the path that is less traveled, the narrow, winding path that most people do not exist on. They, either exist in fighting for the light or the dark, or fighting for something, or moving towards something. But when you're neutral, you just observe, you start to notice what is happening, but you're not attached to one outcome or another. And in that space, you start to regulate your nervous system. So you're not in this sympathetic state, whether it's you're worried about the destruction of the world or you're worried about the creation of a new world. You're in the parasympathetic state, and you're allowing yourself to have access to more and more and more and more information that exists in your subconscious mind. The 10 million bits of information that are flooding your nervous system every single day. You get to have access to that and make decisions and move towards the reality that is being guided by a higher power, is being guided by the forces. And again, going back to those forces of light and dark, those forces are guiding this death and rebirth of humanity. You can view that as God. You can view that as the universe. You can view that as the archons. You can view that as angels and demons. Whatever story you're using, you are putting to this essentially structure of the universe. It really doesn't matter. Whatever makes you feel good, that's fine. I'm not saying that one story is better than the other. I'm saying that those stories are describing and representing a fundamental structure of the universe that allows the universe to continue on ad infinitum, into the infinite. That it allows this video game that we're playing to continue on and on and on, so that the players don't get bored and reject the video game. That the people inside of, again, this matrix, which there's so much connotation between the matrix is bad, we have to escape the matrix, we have to get out of it. No, you chose to come to this matrix. You made a conscious decision as a soul to incarnate in this matrix, to see if you had what it takes to get out of the matrix, to find that neutrality, to not be tied to the matrix, because it's our attention, it's our intention, it's our focus and energy that we put into that matrix, that game, the positive and negative, the good and the bad, that keeps us attached to that matrix. So finding that neutrality, being able to live in this world but not of it, as Jesus said, this is the key to, quote unquote, escaping the matrix. It's recognizing the patterns of how it is built, not getting attached to the stories, and just finding that connection to the divinity, to the intelligence, to your intuition that you can, and acting out of that intuition, acting out of that knowing that whatever happens, no matter what happens on the planet, all will be well. You will learn the lessons that you're here to learn. You will have the experiences that you are here to experience. It's just, do you want to experience the lessons the difficult way, by going through pain and suffering, or do you want to learn them in a easier way, a more intuitive way? You learn them by noticing the external world, but understanding the internal world is what is dictating that external world. So being completely neutral allows you to live in the present moment. It allows you to focus your attention and intention on not everything that's going on the outside, but everything that is happening on the inside. So if you're ever interested in learning more, I actually have a whole bunch of different workshops that are coming up. I'm working on a few kind of, I'll call them mini retreats in the Delaware and Florida areas. I've got a workshop next Thursday. It's August 7th down in Ocean View. It's at 7:00. I'll link the sign up for that. Would love to have you if you're in the area. If not, if you want maybe like an online workshop or something like that, send me a message. I'd love to hear if there's something that you would love, that you want to experience, that you want to have, that you want to see, that you want to feel. Send me a message and we'll see if we can come up with something, some kind of online thing. Other than that, the Flow Forum, if you want to start to find that neutrality, join me in the Flow Forum. There's a number of tools and techniques that I put on there completely free. You get to join it, lifetime access. Pretty much everything that you need to try to find your neutrality is going to be in that Flow Forum school system. So sign up, get in there. Would love to have you joined up and experiencing just a little bit more of this neutrality, this meditation, this being in the present moment, not focusing too much on the present or on the future, not too much on the past, but where are you right now? What is happening to you right now? So as always, thanks for coming out. Thanks for listening. Always appreciate the feedback that I get on these, and I will see you all next week.